There have been a lot of very forced, heavy-handed efforts over the past few years to engineer a new George Floyd-type situation. We've talked about some of them. None of these attempts, from Jacob Blake to Dexter Reed to many in between, ultimately have worked out, probably because nobody trusts anything the media or BLM says anymore. That doesn't mean that the left has given up on their dream of trying to create a new folk hero to gin up racial resentment in this election year. Instead, they're adjusting their strategy a bit. Specifically, they're going back in time about 70 years for inspiration. In the most ham-fisted way imaginable, they're currently doing their best to create a new Rosa Parks out of thin air. So instead of George Floyd 2.0, they're actually going for a Rosa Parks 2.0. Except this time, Rosa Parks wasn't told to go to the back of the bus. She was told to go to the back of an American Airlines plane. The drama began back in February. Watch.
A retired black female judge on an airplane harassed by a flight attendant. It is a hell of a story. Put up the picture full mass. A lot of twists and turns here. Per Atlanta Black Star, they did great reporting on this. Pamela Hill Viola, a retired black circuit court judge from Chicago, is now suing American Airlines for racial discrimination, claiming a male flight attendant told her to, quote, use the bathroom in the back of the plane, even though she was booked to fly in first class. The federal civil complaint against the airline alleges that the flight attendant, whose name and race were not disclosed, racially profiled her during a flight from Chicago to Phoenix. This happened on February 10th. The incident recalls the historical injustice of Rosa Parks being told to move to the back of the bus. That was almost 70 years ago, which sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, galvanized civil rights movement. And despite the passage of more than 6 decades since the situation involving Parks, incidents like this continue in 2024, highlighting ongoing challenges with racial equality in the United States.
So a male flight attendant allegedly told this esteemed black judge named Pamela Hill Veal to use the bathroom in the back of the plane, even though, quote, she was booked to fly in first class. And therefore, according to a report in something called the Atlanta Black Star, we have a new Rosa Parks in our hands. Before I go more deeply into the facts of this case, let's just pause for a second to analyze what we've learned so far. First of all, it's not clear what booked to fly in first class means. Presumably, it means that she was also seated in first class and didn't get bounced from her seat before the flight boarded, although we don't know. It's phrased in a way that, and it's important to the case, like, was she actually in first class? From the way it's phrased there, you would think she was. There's been some other reporting that makes it a little bit unclear where she even was seated on the plane. But anyway, also, she's going from Chicago to Phoenix, which is less than a 4-hour flight. That's a detail that will become important later. And during this flight, she was, quote, racially profiled by a flight attendant who told her to use the bathroom in the back of the plane. It's a hell of a story with many twists and turns, we're told. And I'll get into some of those twists and turns in a moment because they undercut the claim that this retired judge is making. But already there are some red flags. For example, why doesn't the complaint state the ethnicity of the flight attendant? I mean, this is a claim about racial discrimination. Surely the flight attendant's race isn't a secret. So what did he look like? Why aren't they telling us that? We could be pretty sure that if the flight attendant was a white guy, that would be the headline of the story. They'd make sure to tell you that. They'd certainly include that detail in the federal complaint. But we can only guess, apparently. The anchor at the Young Turks doesn't seem bothered by this little omission in any way, and neither does NPR, which wrote up a sympathetic article about this passenger. So let's continue with the allegations against this mystery flight attendant, because here's where it really gets good. Listen.
The lawsuit claims that the flight attendant accused the judge of slamming the lavatory door, slammed it, when she used it the first time, and began hounding the woman as she continued to use the same restroom, even as she was rightfully seated in first class with members of her family. Quote, the flight attendant stopped me as I was returning to my seat and told me I slammed the restroom door and I was not to do it again since passengers were sleeping on the plane. The judge told NPR during a recent interview about the incident. The flight attendant's insolence didn't provoke Judge Hill-Veal, who said she ignored the remark and proceeded to walk back to her seat. Believing the man was simply mistaken because she knew she had not slammed the door behind her.
So this is the first twist and turn of this mile-high bathroom drama, apparently. It turns out that this woman, according to the flight attendant, slammed the bathroom door in first class, and that's what bothered passengers who were sleeping. So the flight attendant told her not to do it again. The passenger apparently understood that because she didn't say anything in response, and she thinks he's wrong or whatever. In any event, it seems like the incident is over, but it wasn't over because for some reason, on a flight that lasts less than 4 hours, this retired judge had to use the bathroom again. And that led to a second encounter at the lavatory. Watch.
Later during the flight, the judge got up to use the restroom again, leading to a second encounter with the male flight attendant who attempted to dress down the judge again as she left the restroom and headed back to her seat, the complaint says. However, this time, the reprimand was more severe and had clear racist undertones. He began to berate me by pointing his finger at me toward my face, saying, "I told you not to slam the door. So from now on, you are to use the restroom in the back of the plane." While he pointed in the direction of the restroom and coach, the judge said. By now, the judge said she felt the flight attendant was clearly using the restroom as a pretext to harass her. Now, I find it quite interesting. Sir, whoever the flight attendant is, if the issue is slamming the door and people need to be able to enjoy their flight or get rest on the flight, why would you not care about those at the back of the plane who are resting? I just don't understand the logic here.
Well, you don't understand the logic because it's pretty clear that so much of this is totally made up, at least from my perspective. If I had to guess, the idea that a flight attendant is shaking his finger in her face, "I told you not to do that. Go to the back of the plane." Now, if that actually happened, like I've never been on a plane and seen anything like that before. There's so many of these, like especially like viral incidents and stuff that you see on planes, and I've never seen that. I kind of want to, just to break up the boredom a little bit. It'd be nice to see something like that happen. I wish that I'd be on a plane where the flight attendant was that strict about enforcing just basic decorum, so that people aren't acting like jerks to those around them. I don't see that very often. But here we have the alleged smoking gun. The black woman supposedly slams the door again, and that does it. The flight attendant has had enough. He tosses her like an umpire, except instead of throwing her out of a baseball game or out of the plane in this case, he's just tossing her from the first class lavatory. And so far, nothing about this is remotely racist, even if you assume that all of these facts are true. There's not even a claim that the flight attendant said anything derogatory about the woman or her skin color. He just told her to stop slamming the door, and she kept slamming the door, and so he told her to use the other lavatory. But apparently we're supposed to believe that properly closing a bathroom door is a dog whistle for white supremacy, alongside timeliness and respect for authority and everything else that you could possibly do. Because he pointed at her and told her to stop using the bathroom, the flight attendant is clearly racist, we're supposed to believe. The whole bathroom thing is just a pretext. So he was just sitting there waiting for an excuse to stop this black woman from using the bathroom. Of course, anytime you get a claim like this, you always think like, so this is a racist flight attendant who stops black people from using the first class bathroom. Does he do that on every flight? How does he still have a job if that's the case? And why is this the first time we're hearing about this? Now, in an attempt to support that non-argument, the anchor jumps in to claim that it makes no sense to banish this woman to the back bathroom. After all, aren't people sleeping back there, he asks? You can tell he thinks this is sort of a gotcha moment. He's exposed the secret Klansmen lurking in the ranks of American Airline flight attendants. But his argument doesn't really work. I mean, maybe fewer people are sleeping in the back of the plane. Maybe the back of the plane is empty. Maybe the bathroom door in the back is farther removed from passengers. Maybe first-class passengers pay extra money so that they're not disturbed in their sleep by angry, entitled women looking for victimhood. Maybe the door has something wrong with it, and this woman clearly hasn't figured out how to use it. Like, there's a bunch of explanations, all of which are more plausible before you get to he's racist. And these news outlets are skipping past all of these possibilities and landing at the most unlikely scenario, which is that American Airlines has a raging white supremacist flight attendant who, by the way, probably isn't even white, because again, they would have told us if he was. And he's choosing to take out his rage on this black woman using the lavatory as a pretext, supposedly. But if you thought the saga ended there, you'd be wrong. Turns out that on this 4-hour flight, our modern-day Rosa Parks, with an overactive bladder, had to use the bathroom a third time. Watch.
She says she never noticed any other first-class passengers complaining about the restroom or the door being slammed. She also pointed out that while that white passengers used the same first-class restroom without ever being confronted. However, she said the intensifying clash with the flight attendant ultimately caused the other passengers to become annoyed with her. The judge said she felt the flight attendant was singling her out for no other apparent reason than her skin color and believes, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that the confrontation was racially motivated. The flight attendant got back in the judge's face a third time when she used the first-class restroom again about 30 minutes before the flight landed. Defying his earlier command for her to use the lavatory at the back of the plane. This time, while walking back to her first class seat, the judge said the flight attendant shadowed her and then put his hands on her before vowing that she would be arrested as soon as the plane reached the airport. The judge said she withheld any response and walked back to her seat. The complaint states that the flight attendant didn't like the way Hillville talked to him and accused her of assault, which the judge denies. Quote, "This was a complete fabrication."
So there's an amusing detail in there. The intensifying clash with the flight attendant caused the other passengers to become annoyed with her. Well, good luck with the lawsuit or federal complaint or whatever it is. If the whole plane hates you and wants you to stop slamming the door, it's probably going to be pretty tough to convince a jury that the flight attendant is a white supremacist who just uses the bathroom door as a pretext to reenact Jim Crow. It's also going to be tough to argue that he put his hands on you and not the other way around. That's especially true given that this retired judge is not some esteemed jurist, despite what we're told. In fact, she has a reputation, apparently, for having a temper and grossly overreacting in court. Quoting from a 2012 article in the Chicago Tribune, Judge Pamela Hill Veal refused to cooperate with Bar Association evaluations, a signal she's counting on clout, not voters, to keep her on the bench. 4 years ago, the appellate court admonished her for wrongly jailing an attorney for contempt of court. The Judicial Performance Commission of Cook County, which evaluates judges with an eye towards improving their effectiveness, says that her reputation for bad temper is undermining her ability to function as a reputable jurist. The commission recommended anger management counseling and mentoring by a peer, but added that it wonders whether Judge Hill-Veal's judicial performance can be remedied by such a plan. On top of all this, the judge was found to be not qualified by a majority of Bar Association evaluators. And these kinds of findings are extremely rare. You don't often see judges who are deemed incompetent by their peers and told to take anger management courses. This is the woman that NPR and the Young Turks are telling us is a serious judge who was racially profiled by American Airlines. They won't tell you that she was told to get anger management classes because she's incapable of controlling herself. And this is apparently a case on the airplane where conflict escalated, and she's claiming it was the other guy who escalated it. And yet what they don't tell us, the media reports, is that she has a history of doing exactly that. But there are some extra details that the media will add to the story, apparently in an attempt to bolster their hit job against American Airlines and further this narrative of rampant white supremacy. Watch.
American Airlines faced two discrimination accusations just last year, 2023. One was involving track star Sha'Carri Richardson, and the other involving musician David Ryan Harris. Richardson was kicked off an American Airlines flight January 2023 after an alleged verbal altercation with a flight attendant whom she claimed was harassing her for filming a video. American Airlines has faced accusations, discriminations against black travelers. In 2017, the NAACP issued a travel advisory urging black people to not fly American Airlines due to complaints. Sharon, thoughts here?
My thoughts are that if people keep saying American Airlines is being racist towards them, American Airlines is being racist.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, where's the flaw in that logic? If enough people make a claim then against a company, then it must be true. You know, never mind the fact that, you know, we have a culture where people are conditioned to find racism everywhere they go. So you condition people to find racism everywhere they go, and then if enough people do find racism everywhere they go, that is proof that the racism is there. That's the way it works. That's the entirety of the logic on display here, as you heard. There's no need to look closely into any of the claims. If you have enough claims, then you're racist. Sorry, American Airlines, those are the rules. Open up your checkbook or the NAACP will declare a travel advisory against you. This is how mob rule works. They make these rules, of course, because they know that pretty much all of these claims are meritless. They know they wouldn't withstand any scrutiny. For example, you heard in that clip that American Airlines is supposedly racist in part because of an incident involving a track star on one of their planes. This is also one of the incidents that NPR cites in their article in Rosa Parks 2.0. Here's how they spin it, quote, in 2023, American Airlines was targeted after two separate incidents, one involving track star Sha'Carri Richardson, another with musician David Ryan Harris, made headlines. Richardson was forced off her American Airlines flight following an argument with a flight attendant who said the athlete was harassing her and trying to intimidate her, Axios reported. In September, Harris, who was traveling with his two biracial children, was stopped and questioned at Los Angeles International Airport after an American Airlines flight attendant suspected he was trafficking the children. That second allegation is supposed to bother us for some reason, even though it's evidence of only one thing, which is that the airline at least attempts to stop child trafficking. It's a process that inevitably is going to involve some amount of profiling because you're looking for patterns. When you're looking for human traffickers, you look for adults and children who don't appear to be related. That's what happened in this instance. And apparently it turns out that was not the case, but generally speaking, it's like we want people to be looking out for this kind of thing, but then if someone's wrong, then supposedly they're racist. But the first allegation is really the incredible one because it's on video. Sha'Carri Richardson recorded herself causing a scene on a plane that had nothing whatsoever to do with her race. Watch.
Place it all the way under the seat in front of you.
Lying.
Larger carry-on luggage raising over.
Lying, not working today.
If you have small
Vacation time.
such as cell phones, tablets, and smartwatches, please switch them.
You recorded me, but you jumped in my video, so I caught you because you jumped in my video. You're harassing me at this point, so I think you should stop. I think you should stop. I think you should stop. You see him, right? Y'all see him, right? Y'all see him, right? Okay. Okay, but I'm sorry. It's not me. Talk to him. No, ma'am. Don't talk to me like that. I'm an adult. Do not talk to me like that. Do not talk to me like that. Tell him to stop. If you do not know what's going on, do not yell at me.
You can stop recording.
No, I'm not going to start recording because I was making a video to myself.
Recording.
I'm going to not start recording. And this video will show what you're doing. So who the are you talking to, ma'am? Thank you. Like, no. I want to talk to the captain because he was very unprofessional.
I notice how she tries to get the rest of the passengers on board with her. Like, you see what he's doing to me, guys? You see this? But they're all against her, of course. So she pivots away from that very quickly. She accuses the flight attendant of getting in her video, even though she clearly pointed her camera at him, and then she won't stop screaming. This is supposedly evidence that American Airlines is a racist cesspool. But it's not evidence of that, of course. It's evidence of extreme entitlement and a victimhood complex. And at the time, the media pretended otherwise, and American Airlines kind of rolled over and took it. So this nonsense is continuing. Now, I've reached out to American Airlines to see if this retired judge with anger management issues actually sued them or if she filed something like a DOJ civil rights complaint instead. As of last night, I couldn't find her complaint in the federal court system in Illinois, which is a shame because I really wanted to know what the requested damages were going to be. What's the dollar value attached to having to use a back bathroom because you kept slamming the front one? Probably a few $100 million, we can assume. But if that works for this retired judge on these non-existent facts, then it could work for anyone. And that would be a disaster for the flying public, as beleaguered as they already are. Many more lavatory doors will be slammed in first class as a result of this woman's complaint. It'll be the new slip and fall type of accident, endlessly repeated all over the country for a quick payout. And it'll make flying an even less appealing proposition than it already is. And for that reason, retired Judge Pamela Hill Veal and all the media outlets who have nominated her to be the next Rosa Parks are today canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.